The following is not medical advice. Always consult a doctor before beginning any exercise program.
What happens at laser tag never stays at laser tag.
Laser Unfocused Tag Talk.
Laser Unfocused Tag Talk.
I feel like you could be like in Ghostbusters or something.
Oh my God, you have got some stories.
Let's talk about laser tag.
Who knew you were a laser tag legend?
Time to get laser unfocused. Tag Talk with Tivia.
Welcome to Laser Unfocused Tag Talk. Hi, I'm Tivia. Laser tag is not only great fun, but there are also a few health benefits to the game as well. So today I am joined by Cecily Brooks, aka Sakura, who is not only an avid laser tag player, but she's also a registered dietitian as well. So welcome, Cecily. Great to chat with you.
Thank you for having me. It's good to see you.
Well, it's good to see you as well. Now, I know you and I have spoken about this in the past, and I always say that laser tag is what I do instead of going to a gym, which is 100% true. That's how I look at it. But there really are a lot of health benefits to playing laser tag, and I'd love to discuss that with you, especially from your standpoint as a dietitian. So I think we need to just start by clarifying that this is not medical advice, and you should always consult your doctor about any exercise regimen. But there are some things that I think we can kind of discuss generally about some of the things that make laser tag kind of a cool way to get your steps in and get that heart pumping.
Absolutely.
So why don't we just start by talking about laser tag, first of all, from the standpoint of what do you think makes this activity such great exercise?
So what makes laser tag a good exercise is that it's a combination of different movements, and it can be what kind of workout you get from it does depend on your play style. So just starting by acknowledging the fact that there are a few components that help us differentiate intentional exercise from just everyday movement. So like there's a difference between the amount of energy that it takes for you to walk from the parking lot to the front door of your building versus like jogging for 5 minutes. Like it's a big difference. So when it comes to laser tag and what makes it a good exercise, what we deem it is being intentional exercise is repetitive, often rhythmic movements done over and over again that increase your heart rate, make you sweat. And a lot of that happens in laser tag. And those movements, those quick and repetitive movements are what raises your heart rate, what brings you to the point where you are exercising and not just moving around, which movement is important. Movement on all levels is important. But, there is a notable difference between how it makes you feel to just walk around and to walk around with a phaser in your hand and you're moving quickly, you're dodging, you're doing like sudden sporadic dynamic movements.
Does the heart rate get kind of going because of the adrenaline rush that comes along with this? Because when you're playing a game of laser tag, I mean, if your mind is in it and your body is in it, it can be like all consuming and really immersive.
So it is mostly the movement that will increase your heart rate, but there are some other factors. Like there's two different types of stress. There's distress, which is the bad stress, and there's eustress, which is the good stress. So it's like, the lights are blaring, people are yelling, you're really getting into the game. That can give you a little spike. But most of it comes from just the act of consistently moving around the field.
Well, and if you've got a big field to move around, you can definitely get some steps in. And I know one of these systems does have a built-in pedometer. And I was playing a 10-minute game the other night on that particular system. And when I looked at the scoreboard, I saw that I had registered 889 in-game steps over those 10 minutes. So that's actual gameplay steps that we're talking about. And, if we know a number like that and we know that it was close to 900 steps, can we ballpark anything about that for me in terms of energy burned or any health metrics that you can suss out from that amount of movement?
So that's an interesting and slightly tricky question when it comes to step counting and exercise, because step counting has become pretty trendy. It's become a really trendy, like good, fun measurement that you can use because a lot of people are doing smartwatches or just carrying their phones on them. Or just carrying their phones on them or having like pedometers or step counters that they keep on their person at all times so that they can, figure out how much movement they're getting. When it comes to counting steps and where it falls into exercise, what makes something an aerobic exercise is how it is impacting your body and how hard you're working. So in an 8 to 10 minute span, a person walking at a normal pace can get about 900 to 1,000 steps. Now, when we're playing a game of laser tag, what can happen, what does usually happen, is that you are taking steps and then you're stopping, and then you're taking steps and then you're stopping, and taking steps and stopping. So if you were moving around in that 10-minute game constantly, I would expect you to have a little more than 1,000 steps. But if you are taking time to stop and assess the situation, or if you're slowing down or speeding up, or if you strategically find a place to plant yourself where you're in a good position, you might not be stepping as much. So, I mean, 800 steps in 10 minutes is good. What adds context and what adds helpful information is how fast were you moving when you were taking those steps?
Mm.
So it's hard.
We don't run in the arena; we walk quickly.
Yeah, we stay in control.
Right.
But so it's hard to tell, and that's one of the problems with step counters, is that a step counter is a really good measure to see how much general movement you're getting. But 10,000 steps looks different for each person. If you're taking 10,000 steps at a pace where you're just walking leisurely, that's good, but that's a different walk than if you are taking 10,000 steps and you're walking very quickly and swinging your arms, possibly having extra weight on you from like a weighted vest or a laser tag pack. Those are two different sets of steps. So the extra context does matter. Unfortunately, with only knowing the amount of steps you took in the amount of minutes it took, that doesn't add quite enough information. But that's not to discourage you from using step counters, because like I said, they're still helpful. But when you are trying to figure out how much you burned or how much work you did, it's the heart rate that you need to monitor. So if you had a heart rate monitor that was going for that entire 10 minutes, you could probably see where like it jumped up and came down and jumped up and came down, or where it came up and stayed up consistently.
That makes perfect sense. And I also wonder with step counters if the form of the movement makes any difference to the steps. For example, if the pedometer is in the pack itself and my Fitbit is on my wrist and my wrist is moving with the phaser, but the phaser is kind of level as opposed to me swinging my arm, maybe that impacts a little bit of the measurement.
Yeah, that's the other problem with the step counters that depend on kind of like the speed at which your body's moving, because laser tag is a good aerobic exercise, but it's pretty unconventional in the way that you can't just rely on. So if you're walking, like your hands are doing this, if I am holding a phaser and my bracelet is counting on me to swing my arms to walk, it's not going to register. It might not register the steps as quickly if I'm holding a phaser and moving the entire time. Additionally, if we are playing a game where we are dodging and leaning and jerking our movements like this, that could register as 2 steps when it was really 1 step, 1 step when it was really no steps. So it's the accuracy does get dicey when you're doing an exercise that's out of the norm. I actually had this problem when Fitbits first started getting popular, like the very early models, because I tried to use them when rollerblading and it could not pick up what I was doing, because I think that it was made to follow a person that was walking or running, not a person who was on wheels. So my arm movements did not match the amount of steps that I should have been taking. So the measurements on my first Fitbit when I was rollerblading were never right, and I got upset and gave up. So yeah, they're useful, but when it comes to something like laser tag, you gotta account for a margin of error.
That's fair enough. Well, even without knowing exactly where we stand with the numbers, can we assume that there's likely an increase in endorphins when you get moving like that? And if so, what does that mean then for our health?
Absolutely. So endorphins do get running in lots of different scenarios. So just recalling that endorphins are a neurotransmitter. There's like 20 different kinds, and then there's like beta endorphins and the other kind. We're not going to get into the science because I am not. This is another warning I didn't give at the beginning. I'm not an exercise physiologist. I just have memorized pretty much everything that's in the physical activity guidelines for Americans. Okay. But a personal trainer could take us more in that direction of like which endorphins are doing what. But in general, endorphins they regulate our response to stress, fear, anxiety, which it's not necessarily that, running or exercising or playing laser tag gives you stress, but it is a neurotransmitter that your body produces to make you feel good during this activity. It's like, so I think endorphins are what's responsible for like the runner's high. When you first start running, sometimes for people who haven't run in a long time, or even experienced runners, when they first start running, it's a little tough. Your heart rate's just starting to get up, and it might feel hard in the moment, and then suddenly it's just euphoria. It's euphoric. You feel good. You feel like your energy can just keep taking you through the rest of your run, and you can feel. I have felt that same thing in laser tag, and that's one thing
Definitely.
that helps you power through the game, because laser tag games can be really intense. They can be really intense and stimulating with all the extra stimulus that's coming at us during the game, because it's not just running around, shooting lasers, right? It's teammates yelling, it's lights flashing, it's alerts going off, it's navigating around the arena. And so the endorphins, not only do they make us feel good, they help us enjoy laser tag, but, like any other situation, endorphins usually also come in when you are feeling exertion or even when you're feeling pain. And that's what pushes us through the game, along with just having fun.
Mhm.
But speaking of that, when you asked that question, it actually reminded me of there have been a couple of times where I've left the arena with an injury that I did not feel during the game, like
Oh.
because the endorphins were flowing. There was a game, I believe, of quad sport, which is the Lasertron game where 4 teams are on the field at the same time. I came out of the arena feeling really good. I'm sweating, I'm huffing and puffing. And when I finally caught my breath, I realized that my leg was hurting. And I was like, I wonder what that's about. I pulled up my pant leg and I was bleeding,
Oh my gosh.
because apparently somewhere in that game, I bumped into something and cut myself. Didn't even notice. My
Wow.
brain just totally ignored it. I was really in the game. I was feeling it. I was having a good time. And then when you come out and you breathe, it's like, oh, where did this scratch come from?
Well, I guess that means that the game was doing what it was supposed to do and getting you into that energy. I know when
Yeah.
I come out of an arena after a game, I'm usually, riding the enthusiasm of what just happened and excited to see what the results are and all that. And also, when you're leaving the arena and everybody is kind of feeling that as you're making your way towards the scoreboard, there's also a little bit of like social energy, maybe momentum going on, because I think one of the things that gives laser tag the appeal that it does is it's a real face-to-face game. You're playing with real human beings, and it's anything that gets people up and moving and off their screens, I think is an excellent thing. But this is like a combination of stepping into a real life video game and the social element, because you're making eye contact. You're playing against people. You're not against an arcade game. You're not in virtual reality. You're not looking at a screen. You're playing with people. So there's two things there that are substitutions I think can really be enjoyed, as a very healthy detour away from online gaming. Do you have thoughts about that?
Absolutely. There are a couple of things that bring my nutrition practice into mind. One thing, usually when I'm assessing a new client or new patient, one of the questions, and people often wonder why I ask this, is, regardless of what your nutrition goals are, most of my clients or patients are looking for weight loss or diabetes control. And I will usually ask them, or like just general better health. I ask, do you have a hobby, a social or active hobby that gets you outside of the house or that you do in the house? And people ask, well, what does that have to do with nutrition? Well, it has a lot to do. First off, having a social or active hobby distracts you from things like grazing or emotional eating or stress eating, but also it usually coincides with some active activity. Usually just the act of having to get up off of the couch or the chair or the bed promotes you to get some extra movement or exercise in. So not only is that important, but socializing is also important, because usually social isolation can have pretty devastating health outcomes, even if it's unintentional. So by having to get out, first you have to get up, get out of the house, which is an important step. You get out into the maybe sunlight, which helps encourage vitamin D, which also can help you like feel more lively and get more energy. But then you go to a place where there's people, you have to look at them, you have to face them. And that helps promote movement. But the other interesting thing about like laser tag and how it kind of makes you feel like you're in a video game, but also blends that social aspect. And I think about this as a gamer and a laser tagger. Playing laser tag is kind of like playing a team based shooting game. So if you like team based shooting games, like I might catch shade for this, but like Overwatch is not the same as Overwatch, but it's a game where like you play as a team and there's an objective. There are some key differences. One, like you said, you have to look, there's a human being there, not like a computer or an online player, because online gaming gives us this sense of anonymity where like you don't have to be sportsmanlike and you don't have to be social with those people. Once that game ends, you're not going to see that person again. It's a little different when you're going on the field with 16 other people and you know that once you get off the field, that person is still going to be there. And it encourages not only for you to socialize with them, but for you to be sportsmanlike. If
Yes.
you're in like a Call of Duty lobby and the game doesn't go right, people are going to be calling each other all kinds of names and all kinds of curse words after the game. That can't really happen after a laser tag game because those are actual people. And we're going to have to play another game with them or be with them after the game when we are having food or debriefing or looking at scores or things like that. So it's like it does force you to be more social than you would be if you were just playing a video game. But as far as the game of laser tag itself and how close it feels to being in a real life video game, I find that it depends on how immersive the system that we're playing is. For example, if there is a system where there's music playing, the equipment is talking to me, there's lots of alerts, there's lots of external stimuli, that feels more like a video game. Mainly tactical, because in tactical, like you shoot, and then when you get hit, like your headband will go poof, and then it'll make a noise like as if you were grunting. It'll go poof, oh, and I'm like, that hurt me, I just got hit. Or like in the old Laser Force where the equipment would tell you you have 7 shots or you have this many lives. There were times when I would get shot and I would hide behind a wall, and while I'm hiding behind the wall, I'm crouched because I'm hiding, I'm breathing heavy, and then the gun is like, you have 2 lives remaining. And I'm like, okay, all right, what are we doing next? It makes me feel like I'm really immersed in the game versus a system where there's not a whole lot of external sound or motion. It's just the sound of like other players moving around and yelling at each other. That feels more like a team sport than a video game. But when the equipment and the game and the system itself is interacting and engaging with me, that feels more gaming-esque versus like a system where there's no music, there's no additional sounds. It's just me and Havoc screaming orders at me. I'm like, okay, this is a sport. This is not a video game.
Well, I wholeheartedly agree with everything you just said there. I really love to play a system where it feels immersive. And I mean, that goes right back to the very beginnings of laser tag before they even really knew what that meant. George Carter with Photon wanted that atmosphere to be immersive. He wanted to take you out of your real life. And when you walked into that arena, you should feel like you've just gone to a different planet. And so I feel the same way when the equipment's talking as well. And the more immersive, the better, as far as I'm concerned. Um, but to your point with it being team based, I also think that there are some real additional benefits, even workforce benefits, because laser tag is oftentimes used to improve team building and strategic thinking skills. And I know that you've encountered some of this. What are some of the ways that you've found for that to be the case?
Laser tag for brain health. It's exercise. I mean, because ultimately, like physical activity and exercise, it's good for your body, but it's really good for your brain too. And it's been like physical activity does increase cognitive function and improve cognitive outcomes for lots of people. Pretty much everyone. But in what's unique to laser tag is that there's the element that like, yes, we are walking briskly, and moving around a lot and shooting each other with guns, but competitively in competitive tag, if you want to win a game, it's not necessarily about walking around and shooting as many people as you can. It is sometimes, but sometimes in a team-based game, depending on what the objective is, positioning and strategy matters just as much as how fast you can move or how well you can shoot. This is why every team needs at least one person who likes to think and study the map. It took me a long time to learn that a lot of competitive games can be won by just putting the right people in the right places and having them hold that spot. It's like a game of chess. And it was another like more experienced player who also told me one time, he was like, Lasertron is not about like running around and shooting and attacking bases. It is about controlling the field, which requires you to know the field and be able to form a strategy that works. It also requires you to be able to adapt when the game is not going the way that you thought. Because I mean, you can look at another team and try to predict what they'll do and form your strategy based on that. But if you're sometimes it takes till you're in the middle of the game to realize that the thing that you wanted to do is not working out because that other team is doing something else. So you have to be able to pivot. That's a skill that not all players have. It's me. I'm not all players. So in a free for all game, it's totally fine for you to just run around in any direction and shoot as many people as you want. But in a competitive team based game, may not serve you as well to just move as fast as possible and shoot as many people. Sometimes that's not helping because you're giving up a position that you were supposed to keep and now your team is getting railed on. So there are a lot of moving parts to it, and it does exercise your brain. Sometimes you walk around an arena and you realize, oh, I haven't shot anyone in about 30 to 40 seconds. I haven't even seen anyone. I should move. And that's like a bit of that critical thinking piece. Like, oh, well, if I'm not shooting anyone, if I'm not seeing anyone, that means I'm in the wrong place.
So there is some strategizing for sure. And there's also a lot of working together, which goes right back to that social element. So a lot of things that come into play as really good positives for sure. I really enjoy on the weekends to go out and go to an all-you-can-play night at my local laser tag arena, and I generally expect to play somewhere around 10 to 12 games if I'm staying for the night. So, those games, they're in 10-minute increments, but they're separated by breaks. So even though I'm really intense for a short period, then I do get breaks throughout the night. And to my mind, that kind of resembles interval training. So am I right about thinking at it like that?
Yes, you're on the right track. But as usual, and as with many of the other things we discussed, the context matters, more information matters. So the act or the pattern of like doing an activity at a certain intensity and then slowing it down or stopping and then starting again, that is interval training. How intense it is depends on how long you are sustaining that intense movement, that intense repetitive movement, and then how long your breaks are and what you're doing for your breaks. So for example, like high intensity interval training, otherwise known as HIIT training, you might be doing 30 seconds to 2 minutes of high impact activity, like running at a really fast pace, and then followed by like 1 minute of like sharply coming down on the speed and maybe jogging at a moderate pace or walking at a very fast pace, followed by increasing the speed again. That naturally happens inside a game of laser tag. You probably played games where like something is happening and you have to get somewhere quickly. So you are briskly moving across the field for about 30 seconds, and then you get there and then the thing is happening and you're standing still for 5 to 10 seconds. And then you have to be somewhere else. So you get up and you move, you run to the other side of the field. So there's these periods, there are these bursts of activity, usually in laser tag games, where you're moving quickly and then you're not moving so quickly. And then you're moving quickly and then you're not moving so quickly. So that's happening in each game that you're playing. And then you have the break. When you stop playing, you have to wait for the next game. Now, if it's a long break, say, because some of these games can be pretty long if you're waiting for another game to finish. Say you're doing a 10-minute game, you take a 10-minute break. Then when you're starting that game again, you're just starting a new round of exercise because the break that you took between them was a little long.
Gotcha. Well, one thing that I personally like to do is when I'm in the arena for a few hours in between the games, I will walk laps around the arcade to keep my heart rate up until the next game is called. So is this good strategy?
You are busy at those arenas. It is a good strategy. So like I said, sometimes when you're doing a lot of activity and then you're just sitting for 10 minutes, it can put you at rest. It can make you feel relaxed. Rather than, continuing to move outside of it, because if you're playing really intense games, you do need a break, but they don't have to be a completely sedentary break. It depends on how you feel. When it comes to cardio exercise or aerobic exercise like jogging, running, walking, it is pretty common to have a burst, like I said, a burst of movement and then to slow it down. Usually if you're doing a weightlifting exercise where you're pushing your muscles to the limit, you're recommended to take at least a 2-minute break between each set. But that's because you're pushing your muscles to failure in each of those sets. If not pushing to failure, just pushing really hard, and you have to give them time to recover. You don't necessarily have to do the same thing with cardiovascular exercise. If you can keep moving at a slow pace, then it's a good idea to do so. But you have to listen to your body. If you need the rest, if you need to sit down for a moment, then you might need to. But you've been to laser tag tournaments too. Sometimes it's really not. Sometimes after 8 minutes of just running up and down the ramp for 2 minutes, because I always get put on ramp duty. After running up and down that ramp for 8 minutes straight, I do need to plant my butt in a chair. But if I'm in that chair for too long and I've only slept 3 hours because this is a laser tag tournament, then I might doze off. So a break is good, just not too long if you're going to get up and play again. So I think your strategy is legit, and it increases your steps.
Well, and I am not a ramp girl. So, so I'm not pushing in exactly the same way, but I also think that, just kind of keeping some motion feels good and makes it easier to get into the next game. I also think that just as good stewardship as a member, it's good to kind of, be the one walking around, keeping extra eyes on things. You see a piece of garbage, you pick it up. Yeah, you help if you're a good member. So I find that you can
You
do
are
that
the
while
best
walking
of
around too.
citizens. Best citizen award.
We do our best. But I will say I'm completely exhausted at the end of a night, and I usually have no trouble winding down after a night of laser tag and getting a solid night's sleep. So do you think that laser tag actively helps to promote healthy sleep?
Absolutely. Like any other aerobic exercise, it helps you fall asleep faster and it helps you stay asleep longer. Sedentary lifestyle in America has become a huge problem because it's not only that people who aren't getting any movement or any exercise are they're having more poor health outcomes just because they're not moving, but also they're not sleeping. And of course, I mean, if you want to put it in the break it down into like the simplest terms possible, exercise makes you tired because it's tiring to do. But in general, it does improve the quality of your sleep. So just like any other aerobic exercise, laser tag can help you with sleep. What doesn't help with sleep is if you are at a laser tag event, and so this goes towards the social aspect of it. We're playing laser tag all day because I've been to tournaments where we're doing this. We're playing laser tag all day, and because we're playing laser tag all day, we didn't actually get the chance to socialize. So now instead of going home and going to bed, we're gonna hang out. We're gonna hang out, and that's time that we should probably spend sleeping. If you're at a multi-day tournament, it's good to dedicate at least one of those days to getting proper sleep. But in general, I would expect laser tag to have the same impact as any other workout, which, like you said, you do this instead of going to the gym. It's a great aerobic workout, which means it's going to help you sleep. It's going to help regulate your mood. It's going to help regulate your blood sugar. Yeah.
Well, it works for me. And, you've hit upon tournaments, and you and I know each other from playing in tournaments and some fairly intense multi-day tournaments for sure. So I'd love to get some thoughts about the health impacts from the intensity of tournaments versus a casual night of laser tag, a more leisurely paced night. How is one comparing with another? And are there benefits to both sides?
So how good a workout you get in laser tag, it's pretty much what you make it. I mean, it's the difference between going to the gym and deciding you're going to do a slow paced walk, like maybe 3 miles a minute, versus deciding you have a little more energy, you're going to do 6 miles a minute or an hour per hour. It's whether you're going to do 3 miles an hour or 6 miles an hour. You can decide. Now, different players have different play styles, of course. Some players like to move more slowly. Some players like to move more quickly. Just like in any other competitive sport, like soccer, for example, there's a position, and I use soccer because this is the sport I used to play. There's a position where the person has to run up and down the field trying to score goals the whole time. And there's another position where a person has to stay and be defensive. They're not moving as much as the person who is running up and down the field trying to score goals. It's the same with laser tag. If your job or your preferred position is to just hold a certain position and not move around too much, then you're not going to get a whole lot of a workout. But if you are walking around or even like just patrolling the area that you're supposed to be in and constantly moving, which is possible in certain formats and not possible in other formats. In tactical, if you step out into an area where you can be seen, you will get shot down immediately, which means you need to stay still. So it really is what you make it. If you have a play style where you play a little more aggressively, you play with more movement, you can get more out of your laser tag workout. If you want to get more out of your laser tag workout, you can choose to play a position where you move around a little bit more. But if you are a player who needs more breaks, if you need to move slower, then you can choose a place or a position where you don't have to do such fast, vigorous, dynamic movements. And so when it comes to like a casual versus a competitive tournament, I think in competitive there is a lot more dynamic movement simply for the fact that there are usually less people on the field. In casual games, there are usually like the rule sets are different. You can have like 10 to 15 people on a team versus competitive when there are only 8 people on each team, meaning there's 16 people on the field. There's more room to move around. I am way more cautious of my movements during a casual game when I know that I can bump into an innocent person if I turn a corner too fast. Mm-hmm. Or if I go down a ramp too fast, I might bump into someone, I might harm them, and there's a higher chance of that just because there are more people. So I do think that you get a better workout in competitive because you can choose your role and there's just more room. That's just a matter of like how many people are on the field. That reminds me. There was a Laser Force game that I played against you where you were the last person on the other team. Mm-hmm. And you know, because you are Tivia, instead of just being like, oh, I'm the last person on the team, we don't have a medic, I'm just going to give up. You decided instead to have us chase you around that field for 2.5 minutes straight. We were just walking the field the entire time looking for you, and every time we found you, we shot you once and you ran away. So we had to keep moving. You forced us to continue that workout.
I made sure we all got our steps that day.
Yes. It was funny. I'm like, why is this taking so long? They only have one person left. Oh, there she is. And she's gone.
Oh, love it. So, yeah, there's definitely levels of intensity and levels of preparation for this type of thing. Now, how can we eat properly before a laser tag night to make the effort that we expend a little bit more beneficial?
So when you are doing this high intensity cardio exercises, so it's like if you're a runner or you do a lot of cardio exercise, usually simple carbs about an hour or two before you go through your workout will help. They will give you sustained energy because the brain's preferred source of energy is carbs. So if you have a lot of cardio exercise that you're going to do, some simple carbs before you go will help. Complex carbs a few hours before. So when I say complex carbs, I mean carbs that also contain fiber. So your whole grains, your fruits, your vegetables with the skin and seeds on, not juice, but smoothies or whole fruits or vegetables, nuts, flax seeds, things that have high fiber and carbs in them. Those will help if you're having the meal the night before you start your tournament or like a few hours before. It's good to get those complex carbs in. But before your workout, you want simple carbs that can be broken down more easily. So breads, crackers, rice, just because you need to break those down fast, which you will be doing because you'll be moving really fast. Protein, obviously, everyone needs protein, but we're talking about a cardio exercise. You think about bodybuilders because nowadays everyone's talking about protein for muscle gain, which you will need an optimal amount of protein too. But for these bursts of movement, you need carbs, you need simple sugars.
Well, all that definitely makes sense and great advice there. But now, forgetting about how people actually eat during these tournaments, what do you think is the ideal approach to not only eating healthy for energy and endurance, but when you're doing that for the course of several days, like some of our tournaments last?
In these events, it's common for people to forget to eat until it's time for everyone to eat, because usually, at these tournaments, if we're having a social aspect, usually people will try to eat meals together. If we have a long commute, it might be easy to plan around that because like we wake up and then we have to drive 4 hours to the next center. The most important thing is to try to stay as consistent as you can with eating at least a morning meal, an afternoon meal, or a dinner meal each day. Breakfast, and I say this all the time, breakfast is not necessarily the meal that you eat in the morning. It's the first meal that you eat after you wake up. So you need consistent carb and protein intake to keep your energy going during these events. So it's important not to skip meals. And it's important to balance them with carbs, protein, and fiber. I'm sorry, carbs, protein, and fat. You need those with all of your meals. So, if you gotta, sometimes it's like, oh, we stop at Wawa, we stop at Sheetz. You might want to get something. If you're looking for convenience, you have to take something on the go because you're about to go on a long trip. I would say a protein shake or a drinkable yogurt plus a piece of fruit or a fiber bar if you're in a hurry. If you need something more hefty, you can do like a breakfast sandwich, something with chicken or turkey sausage, and eggs or egg whites. If you are having a larger meal because we're going out after a tournament, then just try to make sure that it's something that has protein, a veggie or a fruit, or some nuts for fiber, or beans. Beans are my favorite source of fiber, so you can also use beans. And then your grain for a carb, that's good too. Sometimes we neglect the fiber during these multi-day tournaments because we're mostly just focused on what's convenient, and sometimes what's convenient is not necessarily balanced. So usually I find that fiber gets left out on these journeys. So just remember fruit when you can, fruit or smoothies or nuts or fiber bars or seeds, which you can find those packaged conveniently pretty much anywhere that you can stop.
Absolutely. Plus, we always have coolers on the road, so you can always bring a snack.
Yes, and also water.
Water, yes. Hydrate.
Fortunately, I preach a lot about water intake and how everyone is dehydrated. But fortunately, when you work hard enough during a laser tag game, you will have to drink water because you'll be sweating and you'll be dehydrated. And for anyone watching who is wondering how much water you need 12 ounces of water for every 30 minutes of exercise. That's on top of your daily recommended water intake.
Oh, wow. Did not know that.
Yes, that's why I'm screaming at my teammates like, "Hey guys, it's been an hour. Drink some water."
You're a good one to have on a team. Yes, you keep everybody on track there.
Mm-hmm.
So, what would you suggest to someone wanting to laser tag, not only for fun, but to make the most of all of these possible benefits? Any overall words of wisdom?
As with any physical activity or exercise program, staying consistent helps. Just do it as much as you can. Pay attention to yourself and your body while you're on the field. Make sure you are getting some movement. Make sure you're not just huddled in the same spot the entire time. And if you feel like you're not getting activity or you're not really getting anything out of it, then try a different role where you can move around more, try a different play style. But like any other exercise, you can get enjoyment and you can get fulfillment out of it. I think that something important to keep in mind when we're thinking about laser tag as exercise, just like with any non-conventional form of exercise, there's this general notion that there are only certain things that count as exercise. And I tell my clients and patients all the time, if it raises your heart rate and makes you sweat and you are moving, it is exercise. I don't care if it's hula hooping, pole dancing, VR games, laser tag, running around with your kids, like all those things are exercise. I think there's this misconception that exercise is just you can only define exercise as like if you're working out in a gym or if you're a marathon runner or if you're playing a sport. Laser tag is a sport. Laser tag is an exercise. There are many things that are exercise that maybe just don't fit into the conventional bracket of it, but that doesn't make it any less effective and fulfilling. So yeah, if you like laser tag, you're getting a workout in it, just keep doing it. There were a few times in my life where I feel like I was in the best shape that I've ever been, and I can name the two greatest peaks for me. One was when I was doing Taekwondo in my early 20s, and I was doing it twice a week with a gym workout on the third day. And the second is when I was playing Lasertron twice a week. We played on Tuesdays and Thursdays from 8 p.m. to 11 p.m. every week. That is nearly 6 hours of aerobic exercise that we were getting per week just from laser tag. And it was great. I was in great shape. I felt good. Then the facility closed. So otherwise, that would still be my workout routine.
So you treated it like a gym also, it sounds like.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm glad to be in the same mindset with you. And I would love to end with a little bit of rapid fire tag talk and get to know you a little bit better. You game for some quick questions and quick answers?
Absolutely.
All right. Let's start with, what is your favorite tournament that you ever played?
Lasertron Worlds. Lasertron Worlds. Specifically 2012.
Okay.
I believe that was in upstate New York, Amherst, Buffalo, and Rochester. Yeah, that was a good time because first of all, we got to play Tron every day for 3 days straight, in every format possible, and that I think was a time when I really got to know some of the other players. I didn't have a team of my own. I had come in joining a different team, so there was a lot that I didn't know about a lot of things, a lot of people, and that was my opportunity to really get into it. And also, we got to hang out at a pool and play volleyball.
All right. Sounds good. What's the coolest prize or souvenir that you've ever gotten through laser tag?
Uh, oh, I don't have it out here. Oh, it's not a prize. I have a golden Lasertron phaser.
Oh,
I wish I had it on me, but I didn't win it. I took it. I took it
dare I ask?
when it wasn't needed anymore. The golden Lasertron phaser is a prize that's awarded for solo free for all tournament winner, which I've never won, but Mark didn't want it, so I took it.
All right, so if Mark is watching now, he knows.
Yeah, just Mark, just.
What's the coolest place that you've ever traveled for laser tag?
I did not go here to play laser tag, but I have crossed through Canada to drive to laser tag. And of note, I've only left the country once in my whole life, and that was to Japan. Even though Canada's right there. There have been a bunch of times where laser tag players have crossed the border over into Canada during tournaments. I never took them up on that opportunity, but last year for the first time, I got to drive through Canada.
All right, sounds good. Who's the coolest person you've ever met through laser tag?
Ooh, that would be my best friend Zero. He
Okay.
does. He's an inactive player that I am actively attempting to bring out of retirement. But he and I met playing laser tag in 2009, and we're still friends today.
Nice.
He's coming to my house this Friday for us to play video games together. And he and I learned and grew a lot as players together and shared a lot of common interests. And he's a real pain to face on the field because we have nearly the same play style. We're just doing our best to run each other down. We both just end up tired and exhausted. And we don't want to do it anymore. but it's really fun to do, and he's become a big part of like my overall community. So we can talk about life and we can also talk about laser tag. He was also around when we were playing laser tag 3 hours a night for 2 nights a week. He was there throughout all of that too.
Awesome. Now, here's a great question. We'll ask for honesty from the dietitian. What's your favorite snack at the concession stand?
Huh. Peanut butter M&Ms. Easy.
Oh, okay. I like that too.
Infinite amount of peanut butter M&Ms. They do make me a little thirsty after a while, but I don't care because I love water. No big deal. I'll down a bottle of water and just eat the next pack. Keep them coming.
All
When
right.
I was a kid and I discovered that they sold those by the 20 pack at Costco, I would beg my mom to buy them for me. After buying me 2 boxes of those and seeing how fast they went, I was banned from eating peanut butter M&Ms in the house. So yeah, I can eat like 100 of those easily.
All right. And that's got to have protein, right? You got to rationalize that somehow.
Protein. They've got protein and healthy fats from the peanut butter. See, no problem.
Right. Favorite brand of brisk movement or we never run in the arena shoes?
Asics.
Asics.
They are well, I'm a little bit of an older laser tag player, so I can't wear cute shoes anymore. I have to wear practical ones.
We can
Asics
always wear cute shoes.
I'll have to shop a little more carefully then, or you'll have to help me. But I like Asics because they're very bouncy. They help you stay light on your feet, and there are some fashionable pairs. I can match them with just about any outfit. But the only color that I wear in the arena is black, so
Definitely.
it matches with everything.
You gotta have a
Asics
solid black pair of sneakers.
Yes.
All right. And final question. What is the best reason you can think of to play laser tag?
It's fun. It's one of the most fun things that you can do for exercise. I mean, who doesn't want now? And for the paintball enthusiasts, I don't even want to hear it because every time I tell people how much I love tag, right? Every time I tell people laser tag, they say, "What about paintball?" I don't care about paintball. You know why? I once played paintball. I was wearing a helmet. I got hit in the head, and that ball still went through the grate and hit me in the head. Why would I want to do that? I want a pain-free, fun, interactive form of enjoyment and exercise. Laser tag is the best. Laser tag is better than paintball, and that's a hill that I'm ready to die on.
Well, I am with you, and I appreciate all your insights. That is my guest, registered dietitian Cecily Brooks. Thank you so much, Cecily, for joining me today and giving us all this insight.
Thank you for having me on. I can't wait for the next one, and I can't wait to see you at the tournament in June.
Yes.
July.
We're going to play some laser tag. Pew, pew.
Let's go. Thank you, Tivia.
Thanks for checking out this episode of Laser Unfocused Tag Talk. Listen for more episodes on the first and third Friday of each month. Want to be a guest on an upcoming episode? Find out more and follow my blog and website at TiviaChickLovesLaserTag.com.